My name is Jackie Amézquita. I'm an artist and an educator, and I live in Los Angeles, California. The work that I currently have in the show it speaks about integration, adaptation in systems of confinement, especially as being undocumented in the United States for over a decade. The work talks about how we find gaps in the systems to be able to exist and adapt and integrate into these different ecosystems. These ideas are translated by using different organic materials. One of them is copper and products that I sometimes source from across the border in Mexico, or I locally source in Los Angeles. I place products on copper sheets and then I encapsulate them using plastic containers and straws. These straws are used for the afterlife of the decay of the products that over time transforms into a different life organism to travel and navigate across each container. In this specific work, I will say that from the avocados or the tomatoes or the onions that had been sitting around, and over time the acidity of these products or fruits starts integrating into the copper, and the copper starts absorbing this acidity and turning the patinas into these greens or blues or browns. What happens during the incubation period time is something I don't have control over. It happens organically, and the product starts decaying over time and producing like maggots, and these maggots sometimes survive the conditions in each container and turn into these little fruit flies, which travel using the straws from one container into another to integrate. And this integration, it's in the form of like the color or like the patina that is produced in like the surface. It also shows traces of mark makings that the flies had made over the time they have been incubated. Some of the lines that appear in the work are the flies learning how to fly, so they're like jumping, and those are like these very, very fine lines that appear in the work. Also, part of how I start like making these works is about thinking about still life, but I'm trying to stay away from, you know, the more conventional ways of creating paintings when I'm making the work. And thinking about straight edges, and that makes me think about boundaries and borders, like what borders are if they're connections instead of like dividers. I think that's also part of what I was trying to create in Beyond the Limits of Confinement.